Hey there, Mary Sheila here, BioYouth Labs. In the last video, I talked about a special test called the A1C, hemoglobin A1C. And specialness about it is it can tell you a lot about the health of your cardiovascular system. We often think of it as a test for diabetes or prediabetes, but what we know is that diabetes and prediabetes affects the cardiovascular system. Part of my training is in Ayurveda, and in Ayurveda we talk about pushes and blocks and flooding, things like that. And what happens is that our metabolism in a diabetic situation or prediabetes, our metabolism is not working optimally because maybe we're not giving it the proper ingredients for our unique body type. And so what happens with digestion and with blood sugar balance starts flooding into and affecting our cardiovascular system. So an A1C test is giving you an average of your blood sugar for the last 3 months. That's because if your blood sugar stays more elevated, what happens is those sugars in the blood start to attach to and stick to your red blood cells, and that thickens your blood. So your blood becomes more honey-like rather than water-like. And we want our blood to be flowing like a clean river, right? I like to talk about how we are just like an ecosystem inside, just like our outer ecosystems. We need clean waters running through the earth, right? Everybody needs clean waters. When we have elevated blood sugar for periods of time and our blood becomes thicker, what happens is that thick blood cannot get into the nooks and crannies. For example, every single cell in the body needs nourishment. And that nourishment has to make its way to that cell. So in our body, the way that vitamins and minerals and glucose and all the nutrients travel is through our blood, through our inner waters. If every single cell needs nutrients, we have to think about the places that have little tiny capillaries taking those nutrients. And if the blood is thick like honey, it might not be able to get there. And commonly when people have diabetes and thicker blood as a result, they might not get the nutrients into their eyes, or maybe the kidneys cannot filter the blood because it's thicker and it gets clogged, or maybe the capillaries in the pinky finger or the pinky toe have trouble getting the nutrients and somebody will get neuropathy. So we want to pay attention to the thickness of our blood. So that A1C test is a really important test, because if that is high for an extended period of time, that means our heart is pumping harder. That could contribute to high cholesterol and high blood pressure. In the last video, I talked about how important it is to have quality carbohydrates. Carbohydrates that do not spike our blood sugar very quickly and make it harder for our body to utilize all that sugar, and it doesn't keep our sugars up higher, or maybe make us insulin resistant if we do too much of that. So whole complex carbohydrates, choosing whole grains, whole beans, whole root vegetables, whole winter squash versus chips and breads and pastas and crackers. Even if they're gluten-free, even if they're organic, it's still not the best situation for blood sugar balance. So that has to do with the quality. Let's talk a little bit about the quantity, right? So we always have choices to make when we eat a meal. For example, if I am eating let's say I'm having tacos or some Mexican food or something, right? I might be choosing to have tortillas and rice and beans and maybe some chips. So there's a lot of carbohydrates that come into that meal, and that is going to flood my body with a lot of sugar, because all of those that I mentioned all contain glucose. So instead I say, I really want Mexican food because I personally love Mexican food. So I have a choice to make. Am I going to have tortillas or chips or beans or rice? So I need to choose. Maybe I'll make a big salad and I'll put some beans in it, and maybe I'll have a few chips or maybe I'll have rice and beans, but I'll forgo the chips and the tortillas, therefore getting more of the complex carbohydrates. So I have to make choices. Rather than having all four, I might have one or two. That's what I recommend when it comes to quantity. And the same thing, like let's say I wanted Italian food. There might be bread and pasta and all kinds of things like that. So again, I have to choose, hi Ziggy, I have to choose if I want to have bread, if I want to have pasta, but then I say, well, how much pasta am I going to have? I'm going to try to have not a whole big mound. I'm going to maybe have a quarter of my plate of the pasta and then try to fill the rest of my plate up with vegetables. And I know that's hard. Trust me, I am married to an Italian. I get it. He does not think that way, but that is the way I have started to think. So, one of the things that I do when I want pasta or we're having pasta is I will plate my own pasta so that I am in alignment for what I want and what my body can handle as far as blood sugar. So, ideally, you should be able to go 4 to 6 hours between a meal. If you get hungry really quick, then you probably have some blood sugar issues. So stick around here because that is one of my favorite topics. And when you're supporting your cardiovascular system, when you're supporting your blood sugar, when you're supporting digestion, when you're supporting the brain, I mean, I can go on and on. Every system is really dependent on a even keel blood sugar, because when it is out of balance, it starts flooding into other systems in the body. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say today, talking about the importance of that A1C test. It can be really motivating if it's high. Sometimes it can feel scary and overwhelming, but it can also be motivating to know, hey, the way that I'm eating, my body's not handling that right now. So I am going to make some changes. It's also, there's a lot of information out there, and I do try to give you very sound science around what would be the best, way to eat when we are dealing with health issues, and we want to even avoid health issues. It's just about making choices. It's about the quantity and the quality of the foods that we're eating. Okay? Come here. I'm going to show you my dog. Come here. Come here. Come here. Oh, yeah. Here's Ziggy. All right. You all have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.